So in today's episode, we are going to go back to our island survival game, and we're going to be doing something different today. We're not going to be fooling around with the textures and how the island actually looks. In fact, today we are going to start implementing a new feature. So that feature is going to be the ability to try and chop down some trees. So in today's episode, we're going to go and see if we can try and start implementing that. And when I say start, I mean the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out a range for each tree. So when we're next to a tree, if we're inside of this range, then we can go ahead and interact with the tree and try and chop it down. And then what else do we need to do? Then once we've got that range and we figured out if the player is in that range, we can go and try and use raycast to try and hit the tree. And once we've implemented hitting the tree, we can then start working on actually breaking the tree down after a certain few hits or a number of hits, and then destroying the tree, as well as spawning in pieces like logs and like broken pieces of trees, whatever you call it. But let's jump into our game here and see where we're at. So I haven't changed anything since our last episode. In fact, I have decided to stop changing things because where are we? Okay, so this is what we did in the last episode, I think. What? So here, this is where we added in a fairly decent rock area on our beach. But I'm not entirely happy with how it looks. In fact, I'm not really happy with how everything looks. So eventually we will probably scrap everything and start designing the world from scratch. But because hopefully the implementation of the breaking the tree down and things like that, hopefully that won't affect the way it looks. So we can go ahead and start on that. There is one thing that I did, and that was add in like kind of like an aim point into our game. So if we play our game, if we go and play our game, you can see there's this little cross in the middle of the screen, and we're going to use that to kind of act like an aim point. So when we go and eventually when we have our system working for breaking down trees, we're going to use this little cross in the middle to kind of allow our player to aim at where they're hitting. So if I stand here next to a tree, for now you can walk through the trees, so we need to fix that. But eventually we'll use this cross for allowing the player to go and hit. So when we click using our mouse, we will allow the player to click. And another reason for this cross is that is the point where we are going to shoot out an raycast to determine what is in front of us and to figure out if we are actually hitting a tree. So let's go and figure out how to set up our trigger, our in-range determining script. So we need to create a new script, and I think let's start with one of our trees. So we need a tree that we can't go through. Can we go through this one? Palm tree. Which one has a collider on it? Okay, we'll go to this one and then we'll figure out how to add a collider onto this one. So that one is over there. So let's just go up to this one quick. So we need to add a collider onto our tree so that we can't go through it, but then also it can trigger, it can register that we're trying to hit it. Okay, so we need to, where's my mouse? We need to add a collider onto this. So I think we need to, let's expand this. So this needs to be some sort of collider. I can't remember which one it is. Mesh collider maybe. Let's try that. Can we walk into it now? Okay, there we go. So it is going to be a mesh collider. Okay, so that works. So let's go out of gameplay mode, and now we can add that mesh collider onto that. Okay, cool. So we'll put that up there. So when this finishes loads, hopefully this doesn't freeze up, because that will be annoying. I think it is going to freeze. That's so annoying. Come on. Okay, you know, because I'm going to force quit it just because I haven't really done anything in that game since our last episode, so nothing will be different. So let's just open it up again, and then we can go and put our collider back on. So where is it? I believe it was this tree. Oh, actually, let's just open up this prefab. So we'll open up this tree, and then on here we can go ahead and add in our collider. I think it was a mesh collider. So that way, hopefully now all of our trees should have the collider on it, or at least the palm trees should. So let's go and test that out and see if we can go through them. So we'll have to add in 2 colliders, or 1 mesh collider and then 1 box collider. So we can't go through that one, we can't go through that one, we can't go through that one, and we can't go through that one. Okay, that's good. We only really need to work on 1 for now, but I think all of them in the scene, especially or including those ones and those ones, you just shouldn't be able to go through. So what we have to do now is we will go back to our tree, and we need to add a second collider onto this, and this one is going to be a box collider. So let's add that one in. Now we need to edit this. So that's a bit too big, so we'll bring it down. It doesn't have to be tall. Actually, you know what? We'll just make it tall for now. It doesn't really make a difference, but this is just to figure out if we are going to be... What am I doing? Not size. Center. We'll go and center that. So this is just going to determine if the player is within range of the tree, so it can go and knock the tree down. So I'm just going to move this tree out from the other trees just so that we can get it working. So here's our tree. We want the collider to be up a little bit. How do you move the collider up? Do you have to like drag it? Let's just do that. Something like that. That should work. So as long as you're within this box, we'll probably have to make it a little bit smaller. Let's go and say, we'll leave the Y9, and then we'll say the other one's 7 by 7, 7, 9, and 7. So if you're inside of this box, that means you can go and break down the tree. So this is not going to be, because we want to be able to go into this box, this is going to have to be a trigger box. So we can go and tick that. And then let's go and add a script onto our tree. So we need to create a new script, and this is going to be called our tree. What can we name this? We'll name it tree for now. We can always change it later. Create, we'll probably name it something more descriptive so that we can, when reading the title, we can actually figure out what it's supposed to do. Let's open that up. Okay, so here it is. So we'll open this up. So in here we need to, do we have a, where's our scripts? How do we not have any scripts in this game? Oh, that's why, because we haven't done any coding apart from the player, which we imported from the asset source. So let's create a scripts folder. We'll drag that in there. For some reason that looks wrong, but I think that's right. And in here I'm just going to create another script, and this is going to be our game manager. Actually, let's rename this to global, because I kind of like global better than game manager. We'll use game manager for something else, but we will open that up. So we should have a new folder, which we do. So here's our global class. We can go get rid of all of that because we don't need that. And then in here, we are going to give a range, or create a new range that we can access from outside of the class. So we'll create a public static int we'll call it in tree range, because we might add a different range for like the rocks and different game or different like features in the game. So we'll create an in tree range and set that to actually we don't need this at all. Yeah, so let's go get rid of that. I don't know what I'm doing. We don't really need that because we've got the box. As long as we're in the box, we don't need that. So let's create let's go back and create in range. And this is going to be a Boolean. And for now, we'll set that to false because at the start of the game, you're not going to be in range of anything that you can chop down or collect or whatever other features we add. So we'll save that, and then in our tree method we'll get rid of, actually we'll leave those for now because we might need them later. I don't think we will, so actually let's just go get rid of them. But we do need our on trigger enter method, and then in here we will say global dot in range is equal to true. So whenever we go and enter that box, this is going to be set to true, and then we'll do the exact same thing for on trigger exit, so that when we leave that box, it's set to false. Okay, so now that's fine. In our, well, let's go see on our player. Where do we have our player? Where's our player? Palm tree. Okay, first person controller. We have a script on a first person controller, so let's just create another script, otherwise that script is going to be very, very big. This will be chop. Yeah, let's just say chop. Oh, let's just say cut tree. For now, we'll save that. We'll probably change it because we might use the same action to like break rocks and stuff like that. So where's that? Let's go and open that up. Edit script. And then in here we can go and try and figure out when we are clicking our mouse button. So when we click our mouse button, we need to see if we are in range, and if we are in range, then we can go ahead and do something to the tree. So to do that, I think we need our update method. So let's just go back a few steps and get rid of our start method. So in our update method, we can go and say if, I think it's input dot mouse dot get mouse button. Well, I think it's 0 for the left button, so we'll try that first. So if we go and press that, and so let's say if we go and press the mouse button and global dot is dot in range, then for now let's just go and say print in range of tree, because we're only going to be testing it on trees for now. So let's go test that out. So we should be able to walk up to, and actually no, I don't think that's true. We should just override this so that it just applies to all of them, and then we'll bring down our tree. So we should be able to walk through this box, but not through our tree. So where is it? There it is. So here's our console log. Let's bring this up here so we can see it work. So we can walk through our tree, well, not through our tree, but through that collider, and then that should bring up a print message. So no, it doesn't. Okay, so let's go and figure out why that doesn't work. So on our tree, let's see, we have our tree script. What's happening? Tree, okay, say on trigger enter. Did we go and set that box collider is triggered and mesh collider is not. Okay, so that's fine. Actually, let's go and get rid of our mesh collider just for now. We'll figure that out when we go and start breaking down the tree. So our box collider should do something when we go and... that's probably why. Because we didn't click, that's why. Let's go and test that out. So it's not really supposed to be like this. Actually it is, so because we only really want to break down the tree when we click on our mouse button. So as soon as we click our mouse button, we have to be inside of that range. So I'm going to click, so here you can see my mouse is here. As soon as I click into the game, nothing happens. So if I click, I'm clicking now, nothing's happening. You can see in a console. So let's go and clear that. And as soon as we go up to the tree and we are inside of that range, you can see that we are now inside the tree, inside the range. And if I walk outside of the range, we're not. You can see by this over here that it's not increasing, so nothing's really happening unless we are inside of this range. Okay, so that's fine. That's working how we want it to work. So now instead of printing out this message, we need to figure out how we are going to hit the tree. And I believe using raycasts should work and should be the better option. Mainly because I don't really know if there is another option, but we'll try and get that working. So what I want to do is, before when we started this episode, I mentioned that we have, in our game view, you can see we have this cross in the middle of the screen. Because when we export this game into like an actual finished product, which is way down the line, we are not going to see the arrow, or the mouse, whatever this is called, the mouse pointer on the screen. In fact, you will only see some sort of indication in the game view as to where you are pointing, which is for now this cross. So this we are going to use to shoot out a raycast in the forward direction of the way the player is facing, and it will come out of the center of the screen, which is where this cross is. So let's go and get that working. So let us go and create another raycast, well, not another one, but a raycast. So here we can go and say ray is going to be equal to main we need to get our camera. Okay, so I think we can create a serialized field because we do have this in our hierarchy, so we can just drag it in. Where's our player? Okay, so cut tree script we have there, so we can create a serialized field. This is going to be, I hate it when I do that, serialized field camera main camera. Okay, so this is going to be ray main camera dot screen point to ray. What do we want to do? We want it to be in the middle of the screen. So I believe this is going to be our position. So here we can go and say new vector 3. Then we need to have, what is it? Screen dot width divided by 2 because we want it in the middle, as well as screen dot height divided by 2, and then for our Z index we can say 0. Okay, why have we got so many brackets here? So I feel like we have way too many brackets. Okay, so let's get rid of that one. Oh, we don't need one there. Okay, that's why. Okay, so that should be fine. So that should create an array. And then now we need to say raycast hit, and then we can just say hit. So let's go and see what we're hitting. So we can say we need to add a check to see if we're hitting anything, and to do that we have to create an if statement and say if the I think it's physics dot ray cast ray, what is it, ray, the distance we want is, let's go and create in a global. So we want to, actually I don't know, because we're in the range of the tree, we don't really need a distance, do we? I don't think so. We'll just add in 1 for now and see if it works. Not 12, 1. Okay, so here we can go and print out for now what we are hitting. So print let's just say we hit, and then it's going to be hit dot collider dot game object dot name. Okay, so what is happening here? Okay, so we can go and print that out. So let's go see if that works. So that way, actually, let's go and add in an else statement just so we can see if this is actually working. So if we hit something, go and print that out. If not, let's go and print out nothing. You hit nothing. Okay. So let's go and test it out, and then that will, if that works, that will probably be it for today's episode. Okay, so you can see if we press the mouse button, which I am doing, nothing happens unless we are in that range of the tree. So let's go over to our tree and hope for the best. I really hope this works. So now that we're in range, we can go and hit something. We didn't assign it, but you can see it's working because it's going to that class. So first person controller, we need to drag in our camera, which I believe is a child object of our player. So we can drag that in there, and now we should be able to see that working. Now we have to make our way all the way back to the tree. The skybox doesn't really match the theme of the game, but we'll change that later. Okay, so now we're in the range. We can go and click on our tree, but we are not hitting anything. And I believe that is because on our tree, we got rid of that collider. We do have a box collider, but I think the is trigger tick box is affecting our collider. So let's go and add in a mesh collider and see if that works. So mesh collider. So the reason I don't really add in a box collider is because the trees are not box shape, if that makes sense. They are curved, and we want the, it won't really affect us for now, but later on we might come up with different ideas where we need to interact with like the leaves and stuff, but we'll see if that works. So let's go and play the game and see. You know what I could do? I could just move our player closer to the tree. That would save us a lot of time when having to restart the game. Okay, now let's test. So now we should see, once we're in the range and we hit the tree, we can see now that when we hit it, we hit a palm tree, the name of the object being printed out in our console, which is great. So I'm just going to go and override that so that that applies to all of our trees. So now we should be able to go to any of our trees and hit them. As long as we're in range, you see we hit palm tree number 3, we hit, okay, this one's not working. Is it? That one's not working for some reason. And that one is not working. Okay, that's strange. Let's see, that's 3, that's 2. No, that's 1. But anyway, we'll figure that out in the next episode. But at least we got our raycast working, and now we can detect what we're hitting as long as we're in the range of the trigger box. And in the next episode, whenever that is, we will start working on adding some health to the tree, so that eventually at some point the tree will break down and fall into pieces, because we don't really want the tree to just break down on the first hit. We want it to have like some resistance, so that way you have to like work to get it down. And then once we've done that, we will start working on allowing the player to actually pick up those objects that the tree has fallen or broken into. So the pieces of like the trunk and, I don't know, just logs that fall down onto the floor. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. So thanks for watching again if you made it this far. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel and also give this video a like. And we will probably get back to our cube rolling game in the next episode. But thanks for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.